What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Delicate Plan podcast. I am Primitive, and as always, I have my co-host with me, Dante. How you doing, bro?
Man, it's been a long time since we did this, man. Well, I'm glad to be back.
I know. What happened? Where were we? Where'd we go?
I mean, I ended up having a kid these past couple of weeks, so I've been in and out of the hospital, ripping and running around. So, number 8 is here. He's good. So I was able to get back on track starting today.
There you go. And that's what happens. We were talking a little bit before the podcast as well. So, as you were saying, you're a little bit out of the loop as far as Digimon wise. The past couple weeks, we were
hmm
having the DigiFest things that were going on. We had Worlds happen, all that stuff. But sometimes life does get in the way, and when you get having a kid, I don't know what that's like personally, but I understand. I understand. You got to take care of the priorities in life. But we are back. We are here. We are here for episode number, I believe this is 11. So we're in the double digits. We're going to get up there, keep it going. And, just like we said previously in another podcast, just because the podcast isn't up for a week or two doesn't mean it's gone. It's just, things happen. And whenever we got time to go in here, sit down and get talking about some Digimon, we're going to go ahead and do it and bring it all to you. So we are back. And there's no big crazy events that happened last time. Some of the other podcasts that we talk about, there's these big announcements, and we haven't really had anything too big about that. But some things that we can talk about are definitely like the state of the metagame right now, because we haven't really gotten to sit down and talk about what BT7 is looking like, especially since we were in a little bit of a like different metagame where we were having the mulligans and we were having the sideboards and people were prepping for Digifest. So a lot of the online events that were being played were played with those rules. And then now that the Digifest is over, a lot of them have started to just abandon the side decks, and keeping the mulligans, especially since on the Carta Magica it did say that for the Ultimate Cup we aren't going to be having side decks, but we still have modified rules. So with modified rules but no side decks, that just sounds like mulligans to me. Obviously, it's not confirmed, but those are kind of like the big things to go over. So that's what we're probably going to be talking about today. So starting off with the BT7 metagame, I know you've been out a little bit, Dante, but it is blue. It is looking very, very blue. Blue won the World Championships. It won the Digifests. It topped multiple Digifests. It was winning multiple tournaments. I was able to win one of the True Champ games with Blue Hybrid as well. And I think there's a few things that could go into that. One of the things that I think are the biggest things is the side decks. And we'll kind of talk about why I think like the side decks like attributed to blue being so powerful right now. But another thing, talking about the blue, we all know the blue. We'll get into that, but this is something you're going to enjoy. I think the second best color and the second best deck right now is very clearly got to be purple. It is a deck that is very kind of can be skill based, can take a lot of brain power, if you will, but you have so many ways to play it. You have the Cherubimon, you have the yellow Cherubimon, you can play Lilith Loop, you can play Eismon Turbo. A video that I just posted earlier today on my channel showcased a deck that is just essentially Mastamon Turbo. It's just swing in with Ginkaku Promote, swing in with Cerberusmon, use Cerberusmon Werewolf mode to pop, swing again. Once they got no security left, then you can, or one security left, you can go ahead and Mastamon up, trash the top security, bring back Promote, swing with the Mastamon, swing with the Ginkaku Promote. Like, there's a lot going on. So purple is one of those decks where it put itself in the metagame. It showed that it can definitely keep up with blue. It can get results, and it's been doing so, especially by Ying, aka Human. He has been on an absolute tear with the Lilith Loop, with the Mastamon, winning multiple online events, getting third at Digifest, like really putting the deck on the map as the purple deck in the format outside of Cherubimon. But what do you think of purple right now? I'm sure you've at least seen some of the stuff. You are the purple player like in here, so you were looking forward to these type of cards with the Eismons and stuff. We knew that it was going to be pretty powerful, but I didn't know if expected it to be this powerful as well as this versatile.
Yeah, like you said, purple is like pretty skill intensive. With purple, man, you can go so many different routes. I've been seeing that it's funny how the metagame has been. It is they shifted to where it slowed down just a tad bit with the hits to the ban list and the shift in the metagame to where a deck like Cherubimon, that can pretty much rush out that could pretty much, put multiple Digimon out of the trash into the board, setting up all these tamers and whatnot. Like it even gave that kind of deck style that how we saw with Bond, when you put four, five, six different tamers on board and they all become just, super duper useful.
Mm-hmm.
So it just opened up the door for Purple to adopt that same play style. And I mean, Eismon, we know how powerful Eismon is. Eismon is like it's getting hit. It's going to one, and it's going to one for a reason. Like being able to spit out multiple Eismon to where they come out to be 5, 7, 9K beat sticks, and then to keep on bringing them back, to keep on bringing them back. Like I mean, I've even been I've even been play testing with a Eisbon Turbo deck of my own with the newest mine, giving everything rush that comes out the trash. So it's one of those things where Purple's getting extremely aggressive, and we knew Live wasn't really gonna go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was gonna get neutered a little bit because of MDF being gone, but we knew it wasn't gonna go anywhere because of Eismon being so dang powerful. I mean, as far as Purple is, I still think Purple would just stay top three color. Will Purple dominate? Maybe not into the structure that comes out, the Mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
to where you get the yellow and purple hybrids going on, but not hybrid, excuse me, the dual color cards.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of them things to where um, I mean, we saw blue coming. Blue is just so versatile. It has so many weapons and so much in its arsenal. But purple got the tricks up the sleeve that a lot of people, they don't read up on purple cards and they don't really take purple too seriously because, like you said, purple is very like it's mind numbing. Like imagine going through 8 rounds of playing with purple, and then not only that, possibly playing against purple as well. Like it really wears on the brain a lot, and a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
just
definitely
want
got to give
something they can
respect
go
to
in.
purple players who make big tournaments. Those are you all are giga brains.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Like that aspect, like purple's. I think purple is probably the most complex color, just because of how the play style is and how the different avenues that you can play. But of course, blue would be the dominant color. Like blue is Bandai's baby. Like 100%. Like we see blue getting way more support than red. But geez, I didn't think it was gonna be this much of a swing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like the thing about blue, and we kind of talked about this in like a previous podcast where we kind of were talking about like why is Gabu Bond so much better than Agu Bond or so much representation, stuff like this. It's just blue cards are good, right? And yes, they hit Ice Wall, which was like a really good card on in the format, and I'm sure nobody's really like saying, man, I wish I was still playing for Ice Wall except for like blue players, right? But the thing is even in the new set, they hit Ice Wall, and it almost was just not even enough because of how powerful Tommy and Korikakumon are, especially when
Mhm.
paired with like Beowulfmon, so you can bounce things back, stun, return your Korikaku, bounce it again later. Tommy's security trigger comes out of security to be able to strip 3 sources, so a lot of times it can invalidate big stack decks such as the Dorogoromon X Antibody, where you build up the
Mhm.
Dorogrammons, put them underneath, you just strip that away. They go from having like 3 security checks to 1 security check after just hitting Tommy off top check. Jessmon also gets hurt by it too because you can strip their Savior, you can strip their Greymon, you can make it so they no longer get the tie boost and stuff like that. So blue is just the color that it's been getting really really good cards for the entirety of the card game, and so when you're getting really good cards and you look at a color like green, which is getting a lot of the times mediocre cards, it's getting some strong cards, then colors like green kind of go in and out of being good to mediocre. As to where blue, it's just always there because it just has good cards. We saw a long time things like jamming Vmon being in a lot of decks because it's just a
Mhm.
really good rookie. Hammer Sparks, Howling Memory Boost now. I mean, there's just it's just really good. It's got strong cards on play. It's got strong security because you have things like Cocytus Breath or Rattlestar, Hammerspark. You still have one Ice Wall, really strong. You have amazing tamers. Some tamers are very strong, but it's really hard to like be on par with things like Davis and Sorajo, especially now with Tommy in the metagame. Sorajo just gets so
Yeah.
much stronger. And it's just really hard to play around too, because when you look at blue, you're like, okay, how do you hinder this? And a lot of the times it's through memory blockers, because they have a lot of memory gain through hammer sparks, ice, howling memory boosts, stuff like that. So you want to stop that, but it's just blue is so strong that it doesn't really even kind of phase it, which I guess will kind of put me into like the side deck thing, where I think one of the reasons why blue is so prominent in the Digifest is because we had side decks legal for them. I think that if we didn't have side decks legal for the Digifest, then I'm not saying blue wouldn't have won. I still think it's the strongest deck, but I don't know if it would have been as dominant, had as many top placings. Because I mean, it was like one Digifest, it was like 11 of the top 16 were blue hybrids, and then the other one, it was like
Jeez.
9 out of the 16 were blue hybrids, right? Like it was. It was, I don't know if those were the exact numbers, but it was large majorities of these top cuts were blue hybrids, and they were like different versions, right? Like some were the Azulong, some were Magna, some were Bond of Friendship, but it's all generally the same, right? It's like I'm gonna stun you,
Hmm.
and then I'm gonna have like big swing turns. And the reason why I think blue did so well with these side decks is because blue's main deck is already better than most other decks with a side deck, and that's like not counting in the side decks. And so when you like give blue the side deck where they have access to all these amazing cards that they can put in their deck, and they can utilize non-blue cards very well, such as Avenge Kidmon or Purple Mimi, you can put those cards in your side decks and not really lose too much while gaining a lot in other advantages in other matchups. But with blue hybrid, it's very easy to counter side deck opponent's side deck. So if somebody's gonna side deck versus you memory blockers, blue, it almost doesn't matter, because you can side deck stuff in that's very easy. Oh, you're gonna side in more Gazimons or Madokis. That's great, because I sided in Supreme Cannon, I sided in Aqua Viper, I sided in Kendo Garurumon. With the sideboard legal, counter sideboarding became very much a thing for blue hybrid, because there are so little matchups in this format where yellow has or blue has such a hard matchup that it needs to dedicate a large portion of its side deck to it. Like for example, with Bond of Friendship last format, if we had the side decks there, a large portion of your side decks were going to be committed to the Diaboromon matchup and the security control matchup. But with this format right now, blue, I don't really feel like there's that many decks that are you really need to just target it, because or else you're gonna have that bad of a matchup. You can more so just make your deck better versus other stuff, because it's like it's really good versus purple right now, because you naturally play memory blockers, so you don't have to side that in. You can just, they kill your Madoki, you play another one, you shut down their Jack Raids, you shut down their Lilith Loop game. They don't play as many memory tamers, so you can choke them out, you can gain a bunch of memory with Sorjo. Like the matchup is really good, but then you add in side decks, you can add in like purple Mimi, so it's like, oh, okay, I don't have my Madoki out, but I have my purple Mimi out, so even if you Jack Raid, I'm gonna neutralize it with my Mimi, or I'm gonna neutralize your Mimi with my Mimi. And you can get these like counter side deck cards. Like we saw a lot of side decking being things that were rookie removals: Forbidden Trident, Supreme Cannon, Aqua Viper, because there was these things where people realizing, okay, people to beat blue hybrid to side deck into the side, or it's like memory blockers and like Digivolution blockers, such as Siakomon and Gaussmon. And there's other things like Purple Mimi and whatnot, but the main things are kind of the floodgates like Madoki and Siako. And so a lot of the side decks were just committed to getting rid of rookies that were annoying, because those were the most annoying things. And getting rid of rookies is like a much easier thing to do as far as just with like one card than it is for like champions or ultimates, right? With champions or ultimates, you have to commit things like Rattlestar, Cocytus Breath, or things like this. As to with rookies, you can play a 3-drop Supreme Cannon and bounce back 4 rookies right away, and then your opponent just lost like all kinds of advantage. So I think the side decks in its current state make blue just way too strong, because they can their main deck is usually way more powerful than other decks' main decks, even considering their side decks. And you can use your side deck as just a counter side deck to make it so that way when people do try to tech in these cards to like beat you, then you can just counter side deck them. And especially right now when a lot of the side decks are very much the same, it's like, okay, if I'm gonna be counter decking blue, I'm gonna put in memory blockers, I'm gonna put in Digivolution blockers or reduction blockers, and I'm gonna put in like Neo Devimon, and that's why I was side decking in things like Aqua Viper, main decking Supreme Cannon, and I side decked Rattlestar because I was thinking, okay, what's gonna be the most annoying thing? Well, people's main decks isn't as annoying to me, but being sided into versus like Madoki and Neo Devimon, those are pretty annoying. So I'm just gonna make my side deck better versus their side deck when they side deck in, but I'm not necessarily going to change my game plan. As to where with a lot of other side decks, you have to like really change your game plan. Like with Christmas, for example, the red green hybrid, they'll side deck in a lot of like more defensive cards because the deck's very aggressive, and so they'll side in things like Atomic Blaster, maybe even potentially something like I saw some people running one to Digivolve blockers, just so that way they had a little bit something better if they wanted to go on top of their red rookies or anything like that. And it kind of changes the dynamic of the deck because you're kind of either going more aggressive, you're going more defensive, stuff like that. So where with blue hybrid, you're just kind of just you're thinking about what are they going to side deck versus you and what can you put in to make it so their side deck is neutralized by your side deck and then just rely on your main deck being better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. With the side that blue just blue just really dominates. It's one of the things to where blue came out the gate, the first three sets was this powerful, small cost, very good, you know, not above average, just option cards, Digimons, inheritables. So it was one of the things to where if it ever got too much power, it could really overtake the metagame.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, we blue has so much in its repertoire. It has so much in its arsenal. Blue is literally the most versatile color in the game. No ifs, ands, or buts
Yeah,
about
no,
it.
not
Cause
not contested in any way.
nah, because blue can either strip all sources and play the strip game. Blue can play the aggressive game with their small hybrids. Like blue can play a stun game with the Tommy Korikakumon and like the Zulamon. You still have Hexablau out there ripping and running around somewhere if somebody wants to really play a stun type of deck. Blue is so versatile. It can get any avenue and it's good at every avenue. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. And
Blue has
purple can
so
come close to it. Like I say, it's like uncontested as the most versatile deck, and I think that it is uncontested. But purple is definitely like the second up there, especially with what we've gotten in BT6, EX1, and BT7. Purple started popping off. Bandai said, "Oh wait, we need to make purple do something here," and they made it do it really good. But the thing is with purple is it's very reliant on other things in your deck going well. Is scatter mode great? Yeah, but or like Eismon's great, but yeah, you need scatter mode in your grave. Or it's like
yeah,
scatter mode's great, it dies, but if you miss your Eismons, then it's like, okay, yeah, you get to fill up. Jack Raid's cool, but unlike Hammer Spark, where you just gain a memory, Jack Raid you have to have 10 cards. Obviously, there's the upside of if you have 20, you get to gain 2 memory and stuff like that, but there's just a lot of cards that are kind of reliant on each other. We saw this in purple before, like even the Ginkaku promote stuff, it was like, okay, yeah, you can bring back Ginkaku promote, but if you don't have Kinkaku and Ginkaku and trash to go underneath, then it's not as crazy. So it's like purple's versatile, but it kind of relies on 2, 3 card combos or things working well with each other, as to where blue just has a lot of singular highly powerful
mm-hmm.
cards that yes, when you pair them together they're great, but they're still strong. Like Tommy and Korikaku together are obviously incredibly powerful, but Tommy alone is very powerful, and Korikaku alone, the ability that it can digivolve for one on top of a champion, or can just digivolve on top of a Strabimon to get its effect, is a very singularly powerful card, which makes it just so versatile because you can have many one card high effective combos, as to where a lot of other decks need 2, 3 cards to work together, or you need the perfect stack to really get that full capabilities that you're looking for.
Yeah, like you said exactly what I'm about to say. Like when it comes to blue, each and every last single card that blue plays It's very, very efficient. Purple, and being a purple player, we need to combo. It's one of those things to where while blue is very versatile, purple is extremely explosive. Like you can combo your entire deck into your trash and put 10, 12 Digimon on board and swing for game. That is purple. Purple can do that at any given time. That's what purple do. Purple is a combo heavy deck. And if it goes off, there's really nothing you can do to stop it. Blue, on the other hand, blue's like, oh, I'm in this situation, got a card for it. Oh, I need this to happen, got a card for it. Oh, I need one more memory. Oh, wait, got a card for that. Oh, I need to digivolve off of a tamer, got a card for that. Oh, I need to bounce things back instead of delete them because they get their effects, got cards for that. So blue covers all bases. And that's why I right now put blue ahead of purple because while purple is extremely strong and still versatile. There's a lot more cards that are coming out for all these other colors that has either on deletion effects or has a effects to where they can't be deleted, like Dura Greymon, for example. Like you can't delete that, so it just sits there on the board and like, well, that's a threat I have to worry about next turn. It's not something like, you know, oh yeah, maybe I could just spin it or get rid of it somehow, some way, do this, do that. Like, no, it's like, yeah, you can't touch it. It's just gonna be there. Like blue can probably find some way to get rid of it. Purple is like if it's not deletion, yeah, like is like purple is gonna like, that's gonna be rough. Let me just try to go, as far as deep, as wide of a board as I can. And then when it comes to that issue, maybe something out of security would check it, or I have something the next turn. So purple, you really have to think your turns out. While blue it has a high skill cap with it, but it's easier to achieve it in blue just because
Exactly.
everything is so
Exactly.
efficient.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think is a misconception about blue, which is probably more prominent versus like some of the like lower to mid as far as like knowledge based players. They see blue and they see the dominance of blue and they relate it to that like you can just play blue and you can have success because you're just going to get like this deck can carry me or you're getting carried by blue, and it's not true at all. Just because you have the best cards, the thing about blue is blue has a lot of flexibility. It has a lot of resources. One of the reasons why it's a little more flexible than purple is also because it's mass memory gain, Sora Joe, Howling memory
Mm-hmm.
boost, just things like that. The memory gain is off the charts. But when you're playing blue, if you don't understand what deck you're playing against, what your key cards are, how to resource management, you're still going to not be winning with it. And that's like one thing that I've seen with people in our local like scene who are playing blue. They'll ask me questions and it's like I'll play versus them or I'll watch them play, I'll review one of their sets, yada yada yada. It's I see them make plays that I wouldn't make because they see cards for the power that they can get immediately as to what their overall value is. So like for example, yes, maybe digivolving on top of Kori Kakumon on top of a Tommy to stun one of the Digimon on the board because they have something on the board is great, but what if you need that Tommy for the later game? What if you see them building up a stack in the back in the raising, and you need to keep that Tommy out so that way you have a turn where you can go ahead and promote, you can swing, you can trash the sources with Sora Joe by suspending. If you need to, you can trash more sources with another Tommy or Howling, but then you can digivolve that Tommy on top. You can go ahead and get that stun. You can put Beowulf on top and get going and stuff like that. Like the main thing I've seen with blue players is that they just see the power of the cards that are in their hand, and it's not a deck that they see straightforward like a couple turns ahead, because there's a lot of decks where I don't really think you need to think a lot of turns ahead. Let's give red
Red.
hybrid. Yes, exactly. Red is like you don't need to think a couple turns high. You just build your stack and raising and swing. That's
Yep.
what you're doing, right? Like if you're playing like Ancient Greymon, if you're playing Jessmon, stuff like that, yeah, there are nuances to it. You do have to think about what your opponent can do, but for the most part, no matter what matchup you're playing against, you're going to be building up a stack and then you're going to swing and just hope for the best that comes out of security. And so it's not really like, okay, man, if I digivolve my Agunimon on top of my tie now and get rid of my red memory boost or my memory tamer, and I can get choked later, I'm going to lose. It's just like, no, if you need to cycle with red and get rid of your memory tamer, it's going to be a lot less detrimental than if you get rid of your memory tamer with something like blue, because you just are building this big stack. And if you have to pass your turn, each turn digivolve for 3 up into ultimate, now your opponent goes to 2 or whatever, it's their turn, and they play something that puts you at 1, and then you digivolve for 3 into Jesmon and pass back. Well, yes, having your memory tamer is going to make that a little bit faster, but the thing is you don't need those resources as much to win. As to where with things like Sora Joe, Tommy, and Davis, you do kind of need those a little bit better, just because blue has the unfortunate downside of if you have bad, like you can get ahead very early, you can keep the lead,
Hmm.
and you can kind of get unexpected comebacks. But the thing is like I've played a bunch of blue, right? Most people
Hmm.
associate me with the color blue in Digimon because I've played it so
Yep.
much. Some people might associate me with yellow because Shine Greymon, Lord Nightmon, blah blah blah. But I've had people tell me all the time that when I'm not playing blue, they find it weird because they see me playing blue. So when I play blue a bunch, I know that if you fall behind and you have a bad security, a lot of times you can just lose because you mismanaged your resources. Like I was playing an online tournament and I had a matchup that versus a X antibody deck that I probably should have won like 100% of the time, and I made one bad mistake of digivolving my on top of my Davis at a certain point to cycle where it seemed like it was okay, and getting rid of that Davis lost me the entire game because my opponent just choked me out while they built up to Doragoromon. They swung 5 checks and then they popped Howling Memory Boost, and then they win it for Grumblemon for game. As to where if I had my 3 memory every turn, I would have been able to continually choke my opponent at 1. I would have been able to set up Madokis while doing other things. Like there was one turn where if I still had my Davis, I would have been able to play Madoki and Ice Wall, put my opponent at 1, and then they wouldn't have been able to pop the Howling Memory Boost for game. And if they attacked, it would have passed turn. So it was just kind of one of those things where it's like one bad play threw it away, and you kind of have to understand that. As to where with a lot of other decks like green and red and stuff like that right now, you can kind of just build the same puzzle every single time. You just want to do the same thing and hope for the best. Like with red green hybrid, you kind of just want to get up into Ancient Beetlemon as fast as possible and just keep going, and that's
Hmm.
kind of what you're looking for, right? And blue and purple are the two decks that I think aren't like that right now, and they're doing the best because they're rewarding good play. It's just, and now people are going to be hearing this and they're probably going to be rolling their eyes because I'm talking highly of blue, and most people are like tired of blue and they think that it's just this, like this no brain deck, but it's really not true. If you ask people who are playing blue at the highest level, sure, like if they disagree that blue's broken, then they're lying to you. I'll tell you right now. I play a
Yep.
bunch of blue. I love blue. It's so broken. I have multiple games where it literally feels unfair because my cards are just so strong that it invalidates some other decks. But the thing is once you get to a high level, a lot of people who are playing blue are going to fail because they don't know the like nuances that you kind of need to it. So it's a deck that has like a high ceiling and a low floor, but those type of decks are the ones that usually like are rewarding the most. And purple is like that forever, I feel like purple is always going to be a low floor high ceiling type deck.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you look at purple as a color, purple's like, oh yeah, I want everything in trash. So somebody, right at the top of the head, like, oh, let me just, draw and trash as much as possible. It's like, nah.
You need to know
Then
what you're
by
trashing.
turn, right, then by turn 6, turn 7, you got 7 cards in your deck, and you're like, yeah, I went too fast. Yeah, you went too fast. Like you have to know when to pace yourself. Especially like in Live Loop, you can deck yourself out. As soon as Live Loop gets going, and I've done it many, many times, you like, okay, I have to literally deck myself out in order to win. I'm about to go in now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do it right, because if you don't, you're gonna deck yourself out to a point to where as soon as you end your turn, game is done. Because
Yep.
they go past turn, you can't draw. So it's one of those things to where And of course, people's gonna be rolling their eyes because like, oh, it's a purple player talking about purple and a blue player talking about blue. But if they're the best two colors, they're the best two colors. Like I'm a purple player, but for a fact I play Alpha Mine.
Hmm.
Alpha Mine is a better black Jessmine. Like it is just like, oh, you want to play Unga Bunga? Play Dorgoramon. You can hit for 3, 4, 5 security in one swing easily.
Hmm.
Like it's easy to stack it. It's all searchable. But my thing is, when it go against blue, it has a hard time because blue naturally just strips sources, and
Hmm.
you can't build up your sources properly because it says put at the bottom when most blue cards say strip the bottom. So it's kind of is pretty much making a wash there. And when you got purple, yeah, purple can go toe to toe with blue, but like you say, when you throw in the side deck, then that back and forth, that 60-40 maybe in favor of blue, now it becomes a 75-25 in favor of blue because while the purple cards are just as good as the blue cards, the purple cards all tend to have a higher cost when it comes to playing them than the actual blue cards. And then if you take the cards in a vacuum, the blue cards are way more effective than the actual purple cards because a lot of purple cards say delete one to delete the other one, delete that to unsuspend, trash this to do this, draw this, trash this to do this, or digivolve this, pay memory, do this, or when something happens, then do this. Like it's very, very combo heavy, which makes it very, very good against the other four colors. But against blue, that when you sit there and you do 19 different effects in your turn and you don't kill them, they can turn right back around and go, did you evolve? Yeah. Oh, okay. So let me play this card to wipe your board. Then like, well, why did I do that in the first place? In it, then if you're gonna just do that. So yeah, it blue's very efficient. And I'm not surprised that blue is the top dog, the top color. And guess what? We're getting structure decks for, the best two colors in the entire format right now, blue and purple. And that's coming out the first week of May with a brand new set that's going to boost blue and purple.
Hmm.
Blue more than purple, but blue and purple.
Well, the
So
Dynus Masty stuff is pretty good. Like they both get pretty gnarly, but yeah, I mean, looking at it right now, it's hard to because I mean, if you look at Japanese meta, you can see that a lot of other colors start to rise up in the future, but it's hard to see like in the meta game right now. It's hard to like look forward to seeing what we get in BT8 and not just expect that like blue, green, purple, yellow is not going to just continue to be OP.
right, I mean, my opinion, I think green is going to be a sleeper. I think it might take number three when it comes to the top three colors. It might edge out Alpha Mine just because Shiva Mine's a card. And with Shivamon just being the most defensive green card I've ever seen in my life, the most defensive card I've seen in my life in this game, like to have the ability to say you can't play option cards while I'm suspended, and then when I unsuspend during my unsuspend phase, you pop a security because guess what? I'm fair. Like building a Shifa deck to be very, very controlling and very, very defensive, like how green in the beginning was supposed to be, that might be a sleeper deck that a lot of people might want to watch out for.
Hmm.
That Green Shiva deck is something to not sleep on, especially because everybody's playing options. Who's not playing options? Blue is probably option heavy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
yeah, I mean
it's
it
like
is.
it's
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 always option heavy. I mean, it's some decks are maybe not as option heavy, but I mean you always got a lot of options that you want to play, especially with the two different memory boosts, the hammer sparks, the ice walls, the bouncing.
Mhm.
That all those cards are going to be. I mean, Shivamon definitely has potential. It just depends on. It definitely depends on how option heavy some of the decks are. But the thing is, if you look at like a lot of the
Mhm.
top decks right now, they're playing a lot of the stuff that they do revolves around options. Like purple, you take options away from purple, it starts to lose a
Oh
lot.
boy. Oh boy, yeah.
I think one
Like
thing that we should touch on too, since we're kind of talking about purple, we're talking about yellow purple going forward. Yellow hybrid in the current format, right? With the deck that
Mhm.
I touted as the best deck of the format at the beginning. It probably wasn't up until just recently that I kind of change that statement. I was playing Yellow Hybrid at the beginning. I stopped playing it pretty quickly because I hate tying. I'd rather, as much as I don't like to lose, I would rather lose than tie, because I'd rather lose a fair game than lose on timer, because tying is tying in tournaments where the to win you have to go undefeated. A tie is essentially the same as a loss. So like I ended up dropping it, but I still thought it was the best. I still was like it just has the best cards. Jet Sylphie is very powerful. The purple package is really strong. You can just you have these great tamers. It's really hard to play around. TK Kari. Kari's a very or TK itself is a very good memory card to be able to search, get resources. Zoe allows you to just curate your stack. It works really well with Dynasmon. But
Hmm.
but then I kind of started to play blue, and then I was like, all right, never mind. Blue's just kind of cracked, and regular purple is just cracked with like the Eismon and stuff. And yellow hybrid kind of just really fell off. I feel like now, obviously, a lot of people are still playing it. It's still a strong deck. I'm not saying it's bad, but it went from like the deck that I thought was the undisputed best to just being it's just it's a deck you got to expect for, but you're gonna see way more purple Eismon type stuff and blue hybrid and even potentially like red green hybrid than you're gonna see over yellow. I don't know if this is because other people also came to the conclusion that they just don't want to tie, or they just found it to not be as powerful, but that is the deck that I feel like was like purple. I think was the like maybe green red was the biggest deck that kind of like went from maybe not being the biggest thing to being really big, but yellow was the deck that I think fell the hardest as far as like ranking and what the best deck is. And even if it fell down to just third or fourth place, I think a deck going from perceived to be the undisputed number one deck to being third or fourth place is a pretty big shift in the metagame fairly quickly as well.
Yeah, I think with the you know how we had side decks, so a lot of people sided stuff for just in case they go against like something like yellow. You still have delicate plan for red decks. You still have emergency program shut down or any deck that wants to play it. So like yellow really want to depend on hitting them option cards. And when people probably say, yeah, let me side in a couple of these just in case I need to go up against like a yellow deck, it really took the power of yellow hybrid away. But I think if people went more of a I'm going to just stack security and I'm going to just, build my tamers in the back and make my security be 13, 14, 15K off of a 3K Digimon. If it goes more that route rather than the typical yellow security control type of deck, I think they might see more success. But a lot of people are already seeing the just the pitfalls of yellow right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's to say that's going to change in BTA? Who's to say that's going to change in EXO2 when Renamon comes out? Yellow might, take the number two spot, even the number one spot, because it's so versatile and it's so, consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But like right now, yeah, yellow is in a weird spot. It's almost like yellow, green, and black are trying to jockey for that third position because they all got these top dog decks that can beat each other and get beat by each other. And they have a great shot against the top two colors. But like purple and blue really just edges them out like also slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put in the side decking aspect of it, it's not even a contest. Because while yellow has very defensive card side decking, it doesn't have that many good option cards, like a huge
Yeah.
pool of it. Same thing with black. Black has great option cards, but guess what? They're 7, 8 costs. They're huge. Yes, they're board whites, but they're freaking huge to the point to where you're past the turn and your opponent can recover if they had the option to. Like, give me 8 memory and give me 8 memory and you wipe my board. I'm gonna just build up into a Lilithmon and put two other level threes and choke you out. And then what are you gonna do about it? Now you're behind because you gave me so much memory. Or in blue, you can just pop out, level three, set up your tamers to be like, okay, next turn, you're done. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just go, attack, attack, hybrid, hybrid, hybrid. Oh, that's game. Like so, those option cards, like while they're very very good, It's not many of them. And in green, green is really all about suspending your opponent's Digimon or doing something when your opponent's Digimon is suspended. So green has a niche to it. So it's one of those things to where those three colors jockey for third place, but there is a gap between third and second with purple, and then there's still a gap between second and first. And if you add in side decking, the gaps just get bigger. Like
Yeah.
regardless of what we want to say.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I should throw in about yellow purple for anybody who's keeping up in Japan is yellow hybrid. So I mean, we get dual colors, we get Black War Grandma, we get over the next sets we get crazy stuff, Mother D Reaper, all that stuff. It gets crazy, right? But
Hmm.
yellow hybrid is topping many events in Japan still. And I mean, you got to keep in mind in Japan, yellow hybrid stuff from BT7 came out a long time ago for them. They've been doing this for a while, so it's a deck that's stood the stand of time, especially now with the restricteds or with the restricted list and ban list. It's still going, and so it's a deck that, like I said earlier, I thought it just had some of the best cards. I mean, it's just Jet Sylphie is very good, Zoe's good. Yellow has good cards. Yellow's on almost on par with blue of having highly versatile cards. But it fell really hard. So it's a deck that had high expectations, still probably has high expectations going in the future just because of how much it's still topping and doing well. But in the current format, I feel like it just had a really hard fall from glory into just kind of being a respectable deck. But I mean, it won a Digifest. I think the Canada Digifest. It might have won another Digifest, but I mean here, in the states, it couldn't do it compared to like blue and purple.
And my thing would be with this. So a lot of people have to understand when in any card game, and I mean any and every single last card game, you have to understand that OCG and TCG are different play styles. In the OCG, they're more conservative and they play a more conservative play style in the OCG. This is why yellow ran rampant. This is why yellow white Mother D Reaper was probably the best, most impressive deck over there. Over here, this is why you see yellow falling to the wayside because we're a hyper aggressive deck. Purple is hyper
Yeah, people
aggressive.
like red right
Blue is
now.
hyper aggressive. But red, like even if somebody's like, "Oh, I want to come in and play Unga Bunga,"
Yeah,
okay, get red.
Doragora.
Red, Goromon is hyper aggressive. It's like, okay, I want a big old giant beat stick and I want to swing it hard. Okay, here's Goromon, here's Jesmon. Pick your color, go in, build a stack, 5 security in 1 turn. You can build it up in 2 or 3 turns. There you go. We're so aggressive here in the TCG. That's always been the case in any card game and every card game that I play. So when we look at the OCG, it's like, hey, yeah, that deck is going to run rampant over here. We got to take in consideration that if that deck is more of a conservative, more of a grindy type of deck, it may not fare better here. Now, you can say security control here is, by far the bee's knees. Yeah, but where's security control now?
Yeah.
Because we getting more aggressive. Every deck has gotten more aggressive. So the security control style deck is not really doing too well. And then when it gets to the other sets, you're going to have to tech it out. And you're going to have to take it out really, really hard in order to make it work. So in that point, is it even worth it? Is it even optimal? Is it even efficient to even do something like that? So it's almost one of those things to where you have to try to keep up and get a deck that can keep up with the meta. Like we know that Alphamon is going to get support the next set, the set after that. We know it's going to be one on Bit Dogs.
Hmm.
We know that Red's getting structured decks, Red's getting more support, Red's getting dual colors just like everything else. That's going to be around. We know that green is going to be a more controlling style deck to what we things that we saw so far. We know that might be around in certain metas. We know blue is getting all the support in the world. That's gonna be top dog. We know purple. That's gonna be top dog. Like even black, black can even revert back to just being bit black blockers and beat in EXO2. Even that, the blocker support, the archetype of blockers got more support EXO2. Like great support. So it's not. It's one of those things to where yeah, you can look at the OCG, but use it as a baseline and not as a Bible. I think a lot of people, just gown that, oh, yellow's gonna be so oppressive here. We gotta hit this, this, and this. And then when you go to the Digimon festivals and the real tournaments, yellow kind of falls to the wayside. It might have won here, it might have topped here, but how many Digifest tournaments that we have, and how many did it top slash win?
Compared
Yeah,
to
you got
blue.
you got to compare to blue, compare to purple. Like, like. I mean, I would even make a case that I'm pretty sure that red has more tops slash wins than yellow do in the Digimon Festival that all happened. So it's one of those things to where we have to take it as a baseline and know what's coming. And that's the thing. You got to also think whatever happens over there, people see it and they see it coming, and they're like, okay, how do we stop that when it comes here to the TCG? How do we overcome that when it comes here to the TCG? It's almost like we're getting a mirror, we're getting a window into the future, and we're like, oh, that's oppressive. How do we stop that over here? Oh, I know how to stop that. Oh, that's gonna be easy to stop because of these cards that we get back in, BT 1.5 or BT4 or something like that. Like, people think about this stuff all the time. This is why our meta and their meta is so vastly different. While blue is dominated here with purple right second, you see yellow running rampant in the OCG still. Even after the ban list, you
Hmm.
still see it running rampant. So yeah, it's one of those things to where just take it with a grain of salt, but be prepared for when it comes here.
And I think, well, here's the thing that when it comes to the Japanese format, that I feel like um, we've already had a lot of evidence of, and it's even more so apparent now. The thing is what happens in Japan isn't necessarily going to translate to the English, for a
Mm-hmm.
couple reasons. Like, let's look at Lord Nightmon meta, right, in BT5.
Mm-hmm.
We had way more green here in the English format that was doing well, topping, winning than in Japan. Um, so that was a big thing. And then even right now we are in, like, we're in a spot where our metagame is completely different than Japan's, for like uncomparably so, because when they were in BT7 they were having MDF, 4 ice wall, reinforce, like, this was like, if we had the same metagame, we'd be in like MDF Susano Central, right? That would be
Yeah.
a large portion of the metagame. We don't have that. So it's like, even looking at Japan's BT7, it's not going to be the same. Our BT8 is not going to be the same. There's nothing saying that we're not going to get another restricted list going into BT9 when we get it here in the English metagame. And so if we get a ban list pre BT9 that they didn't have in Japan, then that's going to obviously shift our metagame compared to that too. So it's like you can use it as a base guideline of what might be good, but you have to consider that there's just a lot of things that could change things differently. Like, a lot of, like, the main decks and what tops is a little bit different here than it was there. That's for different things, as is metagame trends, player preferences, being more control-y, being more defensive, the differences of things like best of 1 to best of 3. Those are going to make things a little bit different. And then another thing that's going to change here is, if we get side decks or mulligans, right, into our official rule set that Japan didn't have in those same metagames, that's going to change things. Because like
Mm-hmm.
like mulligans are great. I think mulligans need to stay. I think it's only been a good thing for since we've had it. I've seen a lot more people enjoying it. They've had much less non games, but it is a mechanic to where if we get mulligans, you're gonna be able to build your deck slightly more high rolly. You're still probably going to brick a lot, but you're gonna have, like with mulligans, you're gonna have a higher chance of hitting that curve. And so the decks that we see here will be different than the builds that we saw in Japan, because the mulligan allows for you to see the top 10 of your cards opposed to the top 5, right? And so those things can change. There's so many things that can change in the English meta, change from the Japanese meta, just off of very simple things. Even things as simple as, like, getting cards at a different time, right? Like, if they got the X starter deck in BT8, but we don't get it till BT9, or like random example like
Hmm.
that, if that happens in the future, that's going to be different because, like, if for example, we got the starter decks a little bit later for BT6 with the Ulforce and the Gallant Mon, and so we had this little meta that was literally not played at all in Japan because they had the starter decks.
Same thing with I believe it was the Mastermind Pyramid was in BT7 for their meta, correct?
Um, I don't remember, but I know they were getting starter decks a little bit sooner than us, so they might have, but I think it was still in BT8.
Okay, 'cause I know the Mastermind All Force was supposed to be BT5 for us, but they pushed it back to BT6.
Right, right.
And so,
The Gallant
so
Mon, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's so interesting. I took a week or two off. You know, I said, okay, I'm gonna see what all is going to transpire and how it's going to transpire. So of course, I didn't keep up with it. I have family issues to deal with, but just coming back and be like, well, nothing really changed. It's still blue and purple as the top two color dogs. Red kind of fell off of favor. Green is still, everybody likes green. Everybody likes black a little bit. Nobody's really playing, too much of yellow. But now is one of the things to where you have to ask yourself, with the power that blue and purple have, and we both agreed on this one in particular point. You cannot have both mulligans and side decking
Uh-uh.
in a card game, or it's gonna be a disaster.
Yeah.
So whichever one, and looks like mulligan, like they're trying out mulligans now, and who's to know that people gonna be like, okay, now we tried out mulligans, let's try out side decking here instead of mulligans. Maybe they're doing extensive testing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're seeing, okay, if this color is super duper dominant, no matter what we do, maybe our next restrictive eliminator list is going to be targeted towards that color. Who knows? Maybe we might see targeted hits towards blue more. Maybe Hammerspark the one. Maybe Tommy the one or two. Like it's one of them things to where they're most likely taking in a lot of data. So we have to be a little more patient. So just understand that you're gonna see blue and black ripping and running through the format right now. And really, you can play whatever you want to play. But if you're a competitive player, just know that blue and black are the best two colors.
Purple.
No matter, I'm no, it's not blue and black, but purple and black. Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. I had a slip of the tongue. I'm over here looking at an Alphamon
You love
deck.
the Alphamon too much. You just got
Yeah,
Alphamon on the brain.
I'm looking at the Alphamon deck right now. I'm like, how? Because I saw that somebody popped a Digifest with the Alphamon deck. I was like, oh, interesting. Let me see what he did and what he played. So I'm sitting here just looking at the deck list. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be expensive for me. So yeah, like blue and purple are just gonna be the top two dogs right now. I mean, even going to BT8, I think armor release is going to have a tricolor armor release is going to actually be able to compete because of the mechanic of armor release is just so freaking good and fantastic. But it's still going to be like pretty hard to dethrone these two tyrants up there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, like just what 2, 3, maybe even a month ago, we were talking about how red and blue was the top three dogs and how purple was number three. But then we get another set inputted, and now red is totally like off the map unless you're playing red hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, red hybrid,
It's inconsistent.
it's still bricks. That's the problem. Like purple's consistent because it draws and tries so much and it's combo heavy. And then blue just gains so much memory that it doesn't matter if you brick, you're just gonna play your cards at a high cost, but
And you just have
end up
stun
choking.
potential.
Right, and yeah, so you can grind the game out. So it's one of those things to where like you can play a card and be like, okay, I'm gonna choke my opponent to two instead of three, or it's like, well, I'm okay, I'm gonna just use all this memory to stun you out, and now you're slowing down like I am. Oh wait, I just top decked the champion. Let me now go in. It's so the card pools for these two colors, purple and blue, are so good that if you're playing competitive and you want to play, the other four colors, you're gonna have a hard time. Not saying you're not gonna win. Not
You
saying that you
can.
can't topple. You
They're
can.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of this is going to come down to. Is they are inconsistent. Blue and purple have high consistency cards. They have high single power strength cards, as to where other colors such as green and red have less cards that are going to be high impact. A lot of red decks you need to hit tie, and I've this was something that was talked about with Jesmon. A lot of players sometimes they didn't like tie because playing tie is you're paying for memory for an effect that's going to help you later. As to where when you're playing Matt, you bring back whatever purple card that you need. And when you're playing blue, you get to play Davis, you get to search, you get to play Sorajo, which then you can swing and strip sources with right away. You have these high consistency cards that when you're even playing your high cost cards like your 4 cost tamers, you're getting immediate value out of it. As for with tie, you need to have a red Digimon with 4 sources underneath to get the security check. If you get a single card stripped, then you lose that and stuff like that. And then you have like green, where green just has it has some good cards. It's very focused around suspending too, which is at the current moment and has been for a little bit not as powerful, being able to suspend a lot of things. That was a lot better back in the day when Lord Nightmon was around. You could Stingmon or a bunch of Stingmon it. Nidhogg has always obviously been a thing, and these are those things, but it's just like these colors aren't as consistent. They're not bad. You're gonna see red topping, you're gonna see black topping, you're gonna see yellow topping, and you're gonna see green. Like you're gonna see these colors topping. It's not that they are unplayable. It's that they are not as consistent, and they're just card for card. The pool of cards, like card for card, is just generally weaker. And even if we say blue and purple at a 9 out of 10 and yellow us as an 8 out of 10, having a 9 out of 10 card strength pool to an 8 out of 10 card strength pool is literally the difference between like tier 1 to tier 2.
Yeah, like if you look at percentages, like people would tell you, well, I mean, I have a optimal deck to where I can draw whatever I need at a 82% clip. And somebody's like, well, I have mine at 91% clip. That's 9%. That's still a whole letter grade above the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things to where when it comes to RNG in this game, because of how it is played, you lose 5 cards at the beginning of the game. You don't know what they are. And then you turn around and you draw you draw into your other 45 cards you have remaining. And you're like, well, RNG played a factor. Did I lose 2 of my level 6s? Did I, security 3 of my rookies? Or, is that all option cards? So in the later on in the game, I'm pretty screwed. Like because the blue and purple are so just consistent and effective and powerful when it comes to impact is one of the things to where, man, like I'd rather take, the high, not, I don't mean not the high rolly decks because obviously black and red are high rolly, but the ones that I can consistently hit that power spike every single game, 2 out of 3 games over an 8, 9, 10 round tournament, go into top 8, and then still be able to go ahead and play another, 3, 4 rounds into a championship, like knowing that my deck has the mathematical advantage over every other deck. And if I hit that at the strive I'm supposed to hit it at, while they even stumble just a little bit, I'm gonna almost guarantee victory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you see purple and blue popping and like smashing everything. That's literally what it is.
Yeah,
It's
I
not us
mean
being
it's
champions for our
yeah,
color.
exactly. I've said this on my stream a million times. I probably haven't said it as the YouTube as much, so if you don't watch my Twitch, you probably haven't heard me say this as much, but I play to win. I'm competitive. So when my deck choices, I don't really choose my favorite color. I choose what deck I think is the best, which is why I've played a lot of different decks and I've changed very quickly. The second I think a deck's better, I'll switch to that. That's how I am. But I've been on blue for a long time for a specific reason
Yeah.
because it is really good. Do I like blue? Yes, I really like mana manipulation, memory manipulation. I think that is, I've liked that in card games. I think it's very cool. I think it makes things for more versatile plays. I also just generally liked how some of the blue cards work. I really liked Imperial. I liked the not only the Digimon, but I liked being able to swing with jamming and unsuspend and swing and go into Blitz Omni and stuff like that. It was this little like aggressive puzzle that you'd build and Bond of Friendship. I really liked Gabumon. I also thought it was like crazy that you could have this card that would be able to bottom deck your opponent's level 5 or lowers at the turn of having to trash your security, right? And I like that stuff. But for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, I play blue because I just choose what I think is the best deck. And I've played blue for a long time because I think it's the best deck. They are very strong. Getting rid of Ice Wall was not enough. And even if they hit Tommy or Korikaku on top of Ice Wall, I still don't think it would be enough. I still think Magna Garuru Koji build, while I think is unoptimal compared to the Tommy Korikaku Azulong build right now. The Koji Magna build is got third at Digifest. It's still good, and it still probably would be one of the top two best decks in the format, regardless of it, just because blue cards are good. Have you if you ever swung into the
Mm-hmm.
security of a blue player, it's never gonna end
Ugh.
well. Like very rarely are you gonna be like, oh, I swung into a Madoki and a Strabi, everything went well. You're gonna be like, oh, I hit Sorojo, I hit Tommy, I hit Hammerspark, I hit Ice Wall, I hit Rattlestar, I hit Supreme Cannon, I hit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
it's it's good for a reason.
Yeah, I agree, and it's funny that you say that. That was explain why you got really turned on to the Christmas deck
Yeah,
because
I thought it was the
being
best
able
deck.
to yeah being like just being there, and on top of that it start like green stars your it stars your opponent's memory.
Hmm.
So just being able to stun your opponent memory from there, but later on in the game it gets a little rough.
Yeah,
But yeah, like it's one of those things to where find your play style and just roll with it.
and just roll
Like
with it.
simple.
And here's the thing.
Like
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna say this, right? Because I get people who come into my streams on my YouTube channel. People like, oh, you play blue, blah blah blah. Who cares, bro? You're playing the card game. If you're gonna play a card game, you have to understand that people are gonna play the best decks. Okay, so if you want to play blue, but you're on like, I don't want to play blue because I don't want people to think of this, but like, just play what you enjoy. It's a card game at the end of the day.
right.
I just so happen to be very competitive, so I enjoy playing long tournament. I really like tournaments. That's what I enjoy. And so if I'm going to spend a bunch of time playing tournaments, I want to do well. So I spend my time playing more often, playing better decks than fun decks. Although I do play fun decks, D Brigade, War Greymon, Agu Bond. These are decks that I love to play. They might not be the top decks, but I'll play them all the time. But you're not going to see me playing nationals with D Brigade. Like
Right.
it's just that's just the thing. But you need to like find that thing. Don't let people's opinions of a deck because of its position in the tier list right now define you, because it's like I know so many people that are like, I really want to play blue but I don't want to play meta, and it's like that's fine, but if you want to play blue, then play blue. You don't have to play it in a tournament. Play it with your friends.
Right. Like I mean, look, if you look, we know for a fact right now. Okay, right now, Prim, what is the best blue deck that you've seen at DigiFest right now?
The blue hybrid with a Zulong.
Okay, okay, Zulon. So, okay, if you don't want to play meta, then play
Play Magna.
Hexablow.
Play Magna. Play
Magna.
Hexablow.
Play ancient mammoth Pokemon.
Yeah.
like there's other like play Metal Garurumon. Like there's other blue play Imperial
Yeah,
Jamon
play
right now.
Imperial.
Like there's other blue decks to play. Play all fours. Like you don't have to play the meta deck. Just play blue.
Yeah.
Just like me, I mean, I'm testing out. I'm playing Anubis Eismon. I'm not playing Mastermind Live Loop.
Hmm.
I'm not playing all these other purple decks. Can I play it? Yes. Will I play it if I was going competitive? I'll definitely will. But it's one of those
Yeah,
things
but you
where
like to play Anubis.
right, because I feel like Anubis right now, before Eismon gets hits to one, Anubis Eismon Turbo is the most efficient way because Anubis gives it rush.
Hmm.
So now you're putting out four or five like 3, 4 Eismon, you're banging their heads against a wall, and then you can play stuff like calling from the darkness to bring them back to your hand, discard them again, get them again, and then rush again. So it's
Exactly.
one of those things that I'm taking out. Like I like playing Eismon. My protege, Candido, like he's playing
Truby
Cherubi Mine.
with a
So it's one.
heavy Lucamon package.
Yes, he is. I know. Me and him talked about that.
Giant Lucamon package.
Yes. So like that, but that's his play style. Like that's what he likes to do.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things to where if you want to play a color, play a color. Don't
Yeah.
let the whole competitive scene get you and frazzle you. No, just play the color
Yeah.
that you want. Like I'm
Yeah.
playing Alpha Mine Dual Girl Mine. We know black is not good right now. I'm still playing it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still got the deck. I'm still testing with it. It doesn't mean anything. Just because it's not competitive doesn't mean that you can't play it. Like just
Yeah.
have fun.
Yeah. I just had to throw that out there because like I've heard the like not wanting to play a deck because it's too good or because people don't like playing blue, so I don't want people to not have fun playing with me. You gotta have fun. It's a card game, you know. Like even me, who's like very competitive, focuses on winning tournaments and stuff. I went to locals on Friday and I played Agu Bond. Okay, you wanna know why? Because I wanted to promote a promo Greymon and put two or three lightning jousts on it and swing. That's what I wanted to do. You know, if I win, great. If I lose, whatever. That's what sounded the most fun to me, so I did it. But when I go to a tournament, I'm gonna play blue because I want to win. And so it's like I just have to say that because I hear it all the time of people not playing decks because of perception of other stuff, which I feel like is defeats the point of playing a card game. Card game. It's a
Yes.
game.
Hey. Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Like, come on now. Like, if you really going to take this to heart, man, like I hate to say the cliche, but man, go touch some grass. Like seriously, it's way bigger than this. This you're supposed to have fun. This is a kids card game. This is labeled a kids card game. This is for ages 6 and older. Like you gotta understand that this is not the end all be all. You're not gonna make $100 million off of this card game. Like unless you're a content creator like Prim or Mario or Steven that do content for it, you're not gonna make money off of it. So like, come on now, people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have fun, build what you want to build, play what you want to play. Yo, it's Digimon. Go ahead, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do what you want to do.
Yeah, we're all here because you either love card games, you love Digimon, you love the scene, you love hanging out with people, whatever it is, you just gotta have fun. But with that being said, I think that is going to be a fantastic place to wrap up. Do you have any more words for this week? We were gone for a couple weeks there, so do you have anything you'd like to throw in there last minute, or just any last words on what we talked about today?
Oh man, I'm glad to be back. I really am glad to be back. My schedule's back on track, so I'll be popping out videos left and right. So the boy Dante is back.
Yeah, there you go. If you all haven't subscribed, if you're watching this on my channel, if you haven't subscribed, go over to the Digimon Laboratory, go ahead and hit sub, give Dante some love. You know, he is a local of mine. He's obviously on here with me. We're gonna be doing this, so if you're gonna be supporting me, you should support the homie as well because he's got a whole different set of content that I don't do. So you can get a whole spectrum of Digimon content between the two of us. But for myself, I just want to say I hope you all are enjoying BT7. This is actually, despite there being a lot of blue hybrid and stuff, and that getting some people a little bit down, I think this has been one of the funnest, if not the most fun metagame I've played in. There are just so many fun decks that can play different ways. Christmas, red hybrid, Dorgoromon, yellow, the purple Eismon. You can just build so many different decks right there. It's really fun. So right now, when we're sitting in the spot where we're probably not going to be having really any BT7 big events up until like we go into BT8 with the Ultimate Cup and stuff like that. Just go ahead, play around, have some fun, test some stuff out. We're gonna be having some cards that are gonna be getting hit on the ban list, so like make sure you get those Jessmons in, those Eismons in, and just have some fun with the game. But with that being said, that's gonna be this week's episode. We are very excited to be back with all. As always, if you have any questions that you want to be answered or talked about on the podcast, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Me and Dante, of course, are gonna be checking those out. But with that being said, we are gonna go get out of here. I am Primitive.
And I am Dante.
And we are going to catch you all next time. Have a great one. Peace out.
Peace.